not getting naked for this tour. No matter what, no matter how many times you ask me, I refuse to take a gentleman is not seen without his frock.
What if I throw you another $500? So today I want to do a tour of Philadelphia. You guys know me, I'm Chrissy Distefano, aka Colonial Chrissy D, and I want to do it with a really famous guy from Philadelphia, so this is who I got.
How do you do? Oh.
It's Ben Franklin.
I invented that.
What do you think, Ben Franklin, I just want to ask you quick, what do you think of OnlyFans saying that you can't do sexually explicit things on OnlyFans anymore?
I don't know what OnlyFans are. I have many fans.
You know what the thing about us that we have in common is?
What's that?
We're both going to die of STDs.
Are you going to do this entire thing on your little podcast? Is that your idea?
No,
I'm sorry, vodcast. Sorry, your little. I'm sure a lot of people are watching it.
Yeah, Benjamin Franklin shitting on me.
Yes, I am, just a little bit. Philadelphia's founded in the 1680s. We'll talk about that later. I love to do this all chronologically.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out like that.
Okay.
So we're going to begin at the end and go back to the beginning.
Let's do it.
From 1790 to 1800, this house right here that does not exist, this structure that sat on this spot, was the president's residence. George Washington lived here for 7 years, and then John Adams lived here for 2 years. After right here, the house was torn down. Two interesting things happened at this house. Well, a lot of interesting things. This is where cabinet meetings were held. This is where Washington designed the new house for future presidents, the White House.
Okay.
This house had never been owned by Washington. We had built a house for him about a block up, and he chose not to live in it because it was too ostentatious. And I'll show you the foundation of the Oval. That's right. Stay 6 feet. 6
Jesus
feet.
Christ. Are you Puerto Rican?
Yeah, you can hit your guys. You can hit Mike with that whenever you want.
I got a stick.
He creates an oval. This was a reception area.
Go ahead.
When Washington designs the White House, he fills it with oval-shaped rooms.
Okay.
Ovals create a different kind of reception area. It's known as a levee. Everyone's equal. If you walk up to Washington on a Friday afternoon and he's standing here and you're waiting for the levee, no one is further away from the president than anybody else in an oval-shaped room. This is part of our new Republican design. This levee.
So the first design ever was kind of communist because everybody's the same.
Well, more specifically, that I don't know what communist means. I should say, first of all, during the levees on Friday afternoons, only white men were allowed. Yeah! Something that I, at the time, may have been somewhat uncomfortable with, as I had just become president of an anti-slavery society.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Thanks. It took me a long time. Don't give me too much credit. It took me a very long time to come to those understandings. But the oval-shaped room, the levee, it actually is based on this sort of idea of the neoclassical Roman Republican design that Jefferson had created at his house. Jefferson's house, Monticello, is the first neoclassical design. These old red brick buildings are what's known as Georgian design for King George. You'll see some more of them. So this is the beginning of sort of creating a style that would be uniquely American. And that style is evoking an ancient style, ancient republicanism, ancient Roman, ancient Greek democracy, though we did not like the word democracy. We'll talk about that later.
I feel like we don't like the word democracy now.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but it's interesting.
Yeah, there you go. I'm bombing for Ben Franklin.
This is where meetings are taking place. This is where protests are taking place.
Wow.
Washington is being protested in his second term.
So do you think if Washington was alive today, he'd be in Antifa?
I think that if Washington were alive today, that is a very interesting question. Let me come back to, I love that question. No, I think if Washington were alive today, he would be more likely a serious journalist than he doesn't have the sense of humor to do what most intelligent people do today, which is forthright comedy.
Yeah.
But I don't think, he's far too civil and honorable to be a politician.
Okay.
I don't even like saying the word politician.
He'd be a serious journalist. Washington would be Anderson Cooper. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin was big on vaccine?
Yes, I had 3 children.
Okay.
And my son, Frankie Francis, we called him Frankie, died at the age of 4 from smallpox.
Well, you had a son named Frankie Franklin?
Yeah, you don't think that's...
That's awesome.
William, Sarah, who we call Sally,
Yeah.
and Francis, who we called Frankie Franklin. But he died at the age of 4 from smallpox.
Yeah.
And after that, I became an enormous advocate for inoculation.
So I was going to say, so vaccine controversies have been going on since you were alive.
We're wearing masks in my time. During yellow fever epidemics in the summer, people are wearing masks. We're keeping our social distance. During the great yellow fever epidemic of 1793, which shuts down the United States government, this is a few years after I, cast off my mortal coil from natural causes related to my being in my mid-80s, not from any of the...
Not syphilis?
Sex is not dangerous. Sex is good, Chris. You shouldn't be so scared of sex.
Okay.
But yes, Philadelphia was founded about 100 years before the Declaration of Independence was written, 1682. What's interesting about that is a couple things. One, where I'm from, Boston, is 75 years older than Philadelphia. Where you're from, New York, is 50 years older than Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a relatively new city, but by 1776, we are the largest city in the New World, essentially, even larger than Mexico City. Not the largest city that's ever been in the New World, but the largest city at that moment, and the most diverse. There are, all right, Boston, New York, London, Paris, every city in the world is built with walls around them.
Right.
Here in America, those walls are designed to keep people of the wrong religion out. If you are in Boston, like I was, you are a Puritan or a member of the Church of England, the Anglicans. You can't keep the Church of England out.
Right.
If you're in New York, you're an Anglican. If you're not an Anglican in New York in the late 1600s, you pay twice as much taxes as Anglicans did.
Okay.
Philadelphia is founded by the Quakers. Quakers are pacifists. Quakers never fight. I am not a Quaker.
You're not?
I have to. I will kick your ass.
But do you like oatmeal?
Oatmeal is fine. Do you know why oatmeal is named for Quakers?
No.
They're known for their good day. They're known for their cleanliness.
What's up, brother? Hey, this is my dad. This is Tampa Tony.
It's not him.
Yes, it is, dude. That's my father.
That was pretty disappointing. You didn't fist pump me.
Ben Franklin,
Quakers are clean. They're known
clean.
for their hygiene, and they're wealthy and they're successful. You're not going to buy Catholic oats.
No. No, those Catholic oats, they hurt.
They got little spikes, and they make you feel guilty for eating
Father
them.
Bill's Catholic oats.
Yeah. No walls.
No walls.
No militias. No rules keeping anybody out.
No walls.
Quakers let everybody in. By 1776, there are 25 different religions being practiced in Philadelphia.
Wow.
There are 3 in Boston.
Wow.
There's maybe a half a dozen in New York.
So it's kind of like Boston is for the wall, Philadelphia wasn't.
The Quakers are coming up with something completely different.
Wow.
And 2 things are the result of it. One, we become bigger. If you're German and you, or a French Huguenot or a Schwenkenfelder, and you want to come and live in the New World, you're not going to go to a place where it's illegal. At the end of the trial, they let her go. Because...
What was her name?
Margaret Matson. She's a Swedish
I thought you said Maxim. I thought you said Margaret Maxim. I was like, definitely look her up.
That's your favorite periodical. Maxim.
Ben Franklin on the cover of Maxim.
Yes, I've been not getting naked for this tour. No matter what, no matter how many times you ask me, I refuse to take a gentleman is not seen without his frock.
What if I throw you another $500?
Yeah, all right, you might be talking my language.
Patreon.com/Christy Comedy.
So, this is chaotic. So, Quakers come to do this. They come to do good, to create this holy experiment.
Right.
What they wind up doing is very well for themselves.
Yes.
This is an economic boom.
Yes.
Letting lots of different people.
Yes.
Now we can trade with the Dutch and the
French
and the Germans because we've got their populations here, their languages being spoken. It's really opening us up beyond the empire.
So Quakers, you're saying they come in, they're saying, no, we're all about peace, equality, everyone to live together, but they're really about making money. That's the catch. They sound like Democrats.
And so for the 50, that's exactly right. I mean,
oh shit!
It wasn't articulate, but it was exactly right.
Joe Biden, you Quaker pussy!
And on the 50th anniversary of the founding of this new experiment, the Quakers order for their State House, their beautiful English building, a new bell. This bell.
This
Come and
bell.
take a look at the bell.
We're going to the Liberty
Here's
Bell.
what makes it so interesting and unique. One,
Let's see it.
it's enormous. It's
Yeah.
the biggest bell at the time. Two, it's engraved. It has no reason to be this big or to have an engraving. Nobody can see it, or it's purely the Quakers showing up how much money. Specifically, Isaac Norris, the president of the Assembly, which I'm a member of at this point.
Okay.
And the third thing that's interesting, and when I say ordered it, they had it built in London. We don't know how to make this is the 1750s. We're
Yeah.
still the Wild West. We don't know much about bell making or
Right.
anything else.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes it really unique is when it arrives and we take it out of the box and we go to ring it, it's a total piece of shit. It is garbage. So we try to fix it, we melt it down, we fail, we shove it in a closet, everybody forgets all about it.
Right.
The bell is not a symbol of the American Revolution.
Okay.
The bell is a reminder by future people. You ready? Here's where it gets really controversial.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
After the American Revolution, after Washington is president, after I die, it occurs to people that we have failed.
Right.
This is a failure. This idea of creating liberty for all, too many people are left out. Women
Yeah.
don't have liberty. Obviously, enslaved people, we thought enslavement would just sort of taper off. The gradual emancipation, it's not happening.
Yeah.
We're getting more and more enslaved people instead. And so those of us who become anti-slavery advocates adopt this as their symbol. The
Wow.
first person to use this and call it a Liberty Bell and use it is the abolitionist societies of Boston, Massachusetts. They put it as a logo. This essentially becomes a logo
Wow.
for the abolitionists, as in to say, where's my freedom?
Right.
Freedom is broken.
Right.
That's what this is a symbol of.
That's what that is.
Of broken freedom.
Got
and
it.
that takes us, but eventually, obviously, the Civil War, we end slavery on July 4th, 1876. Come on out here. On July 4th, 1876.
Yes.
It's the
That's
100th
nuts.
anniversary
Yes.
of the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
We're having an enormous event. 9 million people come to Philadelphia that summer.
Oh my
and
God.
on July 4th, we present a new bell for the tower, the Albany Bell, known as the Centennial Bell, which is still up there.
Oh, the
And
Albany Bell? What a shit name.
well, it was made in Albany.
It was
Which
made
is-
in Albany?
I came up with something called the Albany Plan back in the 1740s. It was the first time anyone ever used the term United States of America.
Really?
We're 100 years later, so stop distracting me.
Sorry.
No, you can
I
keep
just didn't think
distracting
anything nice came out of Albany.
You couldn't be more right. The Albany Plan failed,
Yeah.
and the Centennial, it's all right.
Yeah. Governor Cuomo failed.
Governor.
I'm not perverted, I'm just Italian.
So Richard Henry Lee the Fourth, July 4th. He reads the Declaration of Independence. We pledge. We all men are created equal.
Blah,
and
blah,
all that.
blah,
We come
yeah.
to the end. We pledge to each our lives, our liberties, our
Yeah.
sacred honor. At the end, a woman comes up on stage, hands him a piece of paper, and says, "Here, read this." And he says, "No." And so she shoves him out of the way. She physically shoves him.
Oh
And
my
she
God.
begins
Was
to
she Puerto
read.
Rican?
She was Susan B. Anthony.
Whoa!
And
Susan!
she begins to read the Declaration of the Rights of Women written in Seneca Falls years earlier. And at that
Wow.
moment, out of all these buildings emerges the suffragettes. And on this declaration that they're handing out to the crowd, they've taken a picture of the old State House bell, the old abolitionist motto, logo, and turned it into their logo.
Oh.
Once again, we see the Liberty Bell being used as a reminder that liberty is cracked. It's broken.
Yes.
And at that point, patriots begin to turn the Liberty Bell into a patriotic propaganda symbol as a disregard, a disrespect of the suffragettes fighting for something they don't believe in.
Wow.
And ever since then, the Liberty Bell has been this symbol. It's basically anyone who speaks out, like you. You speak out for the freedoms of those who don't enjoy it.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela came to Philadelphia. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln, Chris. All these great spokesmen through history
Yes.
have come to stand in front of the Liberty Bell and say the same thing. Where's my Liberty.
Yes.
Liberty is not yet, until everyone has it.
Yeah.
The bell remains cracked.
The bell remains cracked.
Let's keep walking.
Oh my God, I think Benjamin Franklin's cue.
I have my moments. I'm so sorry. It's nice to see you. Hello, everyone. You're in very good hands. Nina is much, much smarter than I am.
I'm almost positive he's banged that lady.
Good to see you, my dear friend.
Are you guys friends or friends?
Oh, yeah, no, she's great. Think about how like skinny you look next to me.
I know, right?
Big fat founding father.
Big fat founding father. Were the founding fathers fat? Like, you think you were fat?
Oh, no. Do you know we have nasty little nicknames for one another?
Really?
Yes. So, like, George Washington is a lion amongst men, so they call Alexander Hamilton the Little Lion.
Really?
Yeah. Samuel Adams, they call him the Angry Boy. They call me, behind my back, Dr. Fatsides.
Dr. Fatsides?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I'm so glad you think so.
I love it, dude.
You can call me that.
I'm tweeting that tonight.
Remember, I'm not a Quaker, though, so I might have
Oh, yeah, you're not a Quaker.
Yeah,
okay.
so I might kick your ass. It's generally considered only 1/3 of the colonists actually supported the American Revolution. 1/3 supported it. 1/3 was absolutely against it. Things had been relatively good for the king. Even things like the Intolerable Acts, the Stamp Act and the Tax Act, even that stuff didn't really, Townshend Act, even that stuff didn't really bother the average American. It didn't cost that much money. What is, yes, you're absolutely right. We had to convince the average American to join, and so only 1/3 really supported. 1/3 were absolutely against it. And like all things, 1/3 of Americans couldn't have cared less. They weren't paying attention.
They didn't care.
They weren't reading
That's
the
where
newspaper.
I'm at. Do you think if you were alive today, you and your friends would have stormed the Capitol, or no?
No. I think that I would be working hard. I had one of all the organizations and institutions that I founded, I think the fire company is really important, and
Sure.
the police department, but I think the most important thing I did, the hospital, the university, that's all fine, is a library company.
Yes.
I think, again, it's all about reading and writing. If you read objectively and critically, then I don't think that you're going to be storming Capitol.
No. I love how much Sergio hates this. Sergio just doesn't care about history at all. He just wants to smoke cigarettes and talk about snakes.
You're very welcome. Here, have some,
Dude, Benjamin Franklin Swamp Ass must be unbelievable.
Spend it wisely. You can have one too, Chris.
What is this?
This is a $7 bill I designed in July 1776.
$7 bill.
America's first currency. It's supposed to be accepted in all 13 states. We're calling them states now.
Sometimes my dad tells me I act like a $3 bill.
Yes, I made those too. This is Old City Hall. This served as the first Supreme Court of the United States. Now, here's the beautiful thing about the Supreme Court. It's not equal in the beginning. When we create the Constitution, we don't think much about the judiciary.
Right.
Okay, here, I'll put it this way. This will be easy. 1787, we're writing the Constitution, okay? Imagine that you, Chris, are a thief in Paris and you steal some bread. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to be caught. You're going to be arrested. You're going to be taken to the Bastille. They're going to torture you. You're going to confess, and then they'll cut off your hands and you'll probably die.
For stealing bread?
In 1787 in Paris.
Thank God I'm keto.
Who's the worst founding father?
Yeah, which one sucks the worst?
Eldridge Gerry is pretty bad.
Why?
He's self-interest. Aaron Burr. These guys are they're corrupt. They just want to get rich. They're the worst. Eldridge Gerry and Aaron Burr are the worst because they don't really care about anything but their own power and wealth. John Adams, as I said, he's very honest and he's very intelligent. He's just sort of a lunatic. He's not compromisable.
You enjoying the tour, sir? Yes, good time.
I can't wait till his wardrobe comes back into style. I'm going to wear that immediately.
Get run over.
Oh, yeah.
Watch your step.
Look at Sergio on the phone. We're with fucking Benjamin Franklin, founding father. He's talking about fitness classes and snake food. Okay.
This is the library company. It's the oldest lending library in the world. I wanted to point out one thing. If you look up, right before I died, we'll go somewhere else to tell you this other story.
Okay.
They put a statue of me up there. Do you see that?
Look at how skinny they made you look.
Well, this is at the very end of my life. I had lost a lot of weight there. And
Why'd you lose a lot of weight?
I was sick. I had gout.
But you didn't have syphilis.
No syphilis. Sorry. I'll tell you, but that's what the story. But
Okay, yeah.
He's just looking up my skirt.
Yeah.
See how they put me in a toga?
Yeah.
And they've got me holding the scepter.
Yes.
Upside down, like I've just taken it out of the king's hand.
Yes.
When they showed me this statue in sort of being created, I hated it.
Really?
Don't turn us into gods. Don't put us in togas. Don't have us holding
Wait a minute, so
scepters.
you saw that exact statue was made in your
As
lifetime?
it was being made. They
Wow.
showed it to me right before I died. It's the same with Washington. Don't put us on money. Don't venerate us. We are not exceptional people doing exceptional things. We
Wow.
are relatively ordinary people doing exceptional things by doing it together. I did not found the library company. Me and a group of 6 other men founded the library company. Washington did not fight the American Revolution. He led 30,000 men into fighting the revolution. Ordinary people joined together can
Right.
do extraordinary
So
things.
you guys were all about, you maintain your humility, all you wanted to do.
So important.
So important to maintain your humility, but still lead with excellence and honor, just like Donald Trump.
All right.
What I'm getting from hanging out with you, though, Ben, is that things really aren't that much different today than they were.
You know what's really interesting?
Yeah.
Things become different in the 19th century, the Victorian age, all that prudishness and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. You'll love this story, but it
Can't wait.
wasn't. I never tell this story.
Oh yes, we're gonna get exclusives here.
And then
we're gonna
go
get a
inside.
story that he never tells. This is
All
just,
right.
yeah, this is just for the Patreon.
All right, so you have to understand that I am a product of my time, my age, the age of reason, the age of letters, the age of enlightenment. I'm inspired by the writings of Voltaire and Montesquieu and John Locke. What I believe fundamentally is very simple. My science, my discovery that electricity or that lightning is a form of electricity and therefore controllable is not in any way undermining the will of God. God can still send bolts of lightning to kill people he doesn't like. It's simply understanding the mysteries. And if we can understand the mysteries of religion through science, we don't see that as a threat to science,
Right.
a threat to religion. But Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, they all got in trouble for these sort of ideas in the Renaissance, in medieval times. But now, in enlightened times, science is no longer a threat to religion.
Got it.
You have to remember that for most people, the idea of a family or a person ruling above the rest of us was by divine providence. And so if science is no longer a threat to religion, then perhaps religion is no longer a justification for these absolute monarchies. Perhaps we can see a new form of government. That is my basic belief, and more or less what people like Jefferson, for all of his faults, or Washington believe. We are enlightened, but some people have taken it further. Some people who call themselves libertines
Yes.
believe that this newfound enlightenment means that there are no consequences, that there is no religion, and therefore no reason to do whatever you want. And these are known as libertines. And when I was 19 years old, much younger than I am now, and I first moved to London, I was very poor, and I was hungry, and I was working as a printer, and yet I was beginning to be known because I would go to rich people and ask to borrow books, and one of them, a Lord Dashwood, invited me to supper one night. And this was wonderful. I could go to his library. Lord Dashwood, he was a lord, I was a printer, and the invitation was enough. So he sends a carriage for me, and he picks me up, and he takes me out, and the carriage, and I think we're going to his manor house, but we're not. He takes us out of London, and I think, all right, we're going to the hunting lodge, but we're not. And he keeps taking us until it starts to get dark, and then we wind up at what is an abandoned church.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And I'm led down into these caverns where it turns out that Lord Dashwood, a libertine, has created an organization known as the Hellfire Club. And the Hellfire Club believes that there are no moral consequences to your actions, and therefore sex orgies are perfectly acceptable. And I proceed to participate with this lord and these fancy people in what is essentially a sexual orgy. Now, I'll tell you two things about the orgy. One, they did not invite their wives. If they are true libertines with no sense of morals, then you would think that their women of their social circles would be there, but it was these fine gentlemen and prostitutes.
Right.
And secondly, the buffet afterwards was not as good as you would expect, which is really why I had come in the first place,
Yeah.
just to get a meal.
Yeah.
I am not a libertine. I did participate in one meeting of the Hellfire Club, but I did not remain because I do think there are consequences. I have a moral code. I call it my moral algebra. It's not based on God or religion, but it is based on a certain mathematical equation.
Okay.
A moral calculus, if you will. Years later, Lord Dashwood becomes the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the third most powerful man in the entire empire. And as I am back in London trying to stand up for the rights of the colonies, I find him to be not our greatest friend. And so I have to go to Lord Dashwood and say, you don't remember it, but 50, 60 years ago, we had sex together. If you don't want everybody to know, I suggest you take a lighter tone towards the colonists.
I love it, dude. Fucking caught him in his sexploitation.
You bet.
That's how, I love it, dude.
Benjamin Epstein.
Yeah, Benny Epstein.
And well-preserved building in American history.
Wow.
So this is, hold on a second, I have to stop for a second. Red coat, red coat, red coat, red coat, we see it. We see you're wearing it. We know red coat. A Patriot Pride isn't fooling anybody. You're clearly a loyalist. You're wearing a red coat. We're all paying attention to you.
Oh my God. Wow, look at that. Holy shit.
Hold on a second, red coat.
What do you think of Ben Franklin?
Dude, Ben Franklin is freaking wild so far. He stopped for a cigarette break, then he just started yelling at that Asian woman calling her a red coat. I was like, holy smokes, this is nuts.
Sorry.
Did he give her what'd you give her, an Altoid?
I gave her $7.
Oh, you gave her the $7 bill. There you go. They walked down this exact road, right here.
Take a look at this as you come up here. Look at the steps.
Okay.
Do you see how the top step is worn down on the left? That is for hundreds of years of people like George Washington walking in and out of this building.
This step.
Yes. This building is so original. It's some of its casement windows. This building has original panes.
So this right here, this is in a dip.
This is hundreds of years of people like Washington and Adams and me walking in and out of this building.
Well, you guys need to lose some weight.
Why isn't this building? Oh, no, not today.
Oh, damn.
Are you serious?
It says use back door, the sign.
Oh, the sign says use back door, yeah. Oh, I love it. That killed the bit.
You, that famous brewer I've been hearing so much about? Yes. He makes the best beer in colonial times. Washington loves his.
Is that
porter.
Sam Adams?
Would you like to talk about it?
No. No, I don't want to give you my focus. You'll talk for 20. No, stop.
I love that. I love that there's beef.
I don't want to share.
Maybe I walk into.
No, nobody wants to hear from you. All right, come on, Chris.
Oh, shit. Sure, whatever you want.
Yes.
Oh my, this is so, dude, impersonator beef?
No, please don't. No, don't. Go away.
Dude, this is so sick right now.
Go away. Go away. Go away!
It's been lovely seeing you, and Dr. Franklin.
Mr.
Please
McElhenney.
stop over for another quarter.
So, this is Carpenter's Hall. This is
Oh
where
my
the
God,
first
this
Continental Congress took place. Amongst the members of the Continental Congress is my son's, I'm here. Well, actually, I'm at the second Congress, but I'm arriving soon. My son's best friend, who had been my agent, Joseph Galloway. I'm taking this off, nobody cares. And Galloway is absolutely pro-British and a loyalist, as is my son, who at this point is in his 50s and is the royal governor of New Jersey. And it is still, remember how I told you how your founding fathers hate each other?
Yeah.
This is where George Washington and John Adams meet for the first time. This is where those divisions between North and South, between different people, is all happening. And it's really getting out of hand. This is where the lawyers are taking over. Based on the First Continental Congress and what becomes known as the Olive Branch petitions and all the ways that we're going to try to compromise, we're never going to war. This is just a lot of talk. But finally, one man stands up, and despite the fact that he's a slave owner and a Virginian, this man is so handsome and so appealing, and when he stands up, everyone listens. And his name is Patrick Henry. And he stands up right where we're standing now, and he says, I am not a Virginian. I'm an American. And this is a really big moment. This idea that we're not 13 countries trying to support Boston and the grief they're getting from British, but that we're something new and that we can be something new. And this is 1774, 75. We're still 2 years away from revolution. We're still, 15, 16 years away from Constitution. But we're beginning just like what Thomas Paine just like what the Declaration. We're seeing those very first steps being taken towards this idea that at this moment in time, the middle of the Age of Enlightenment, something new is going to happen.
Wow.
It was boring though. It's mostly lawyers just talking. Everybody got 3 hours to talk.
And they would talk for 3 hours?
3 hours.
My God, dude. Those guys would have crushed if they had podcasts.
Can you imagine Washington sitting in the background bored and just staring out the window?
Yeah.
Well, so these are the original windows.
With no cell phones.
So this, look at right here. You see why they kept this window cracked? That's because that is an original. I know it doesn't seem like much, but that pane of glass survived from 1774 in the original casement window.
Imagine he accidentally cracked it.
I know, it's funny. That is what makes this the most well-preserved building in American history.
But that is pretty awesome. Like, that crack has been there. George Washington potentially looked at that same crack we're looking at.
Exactly.
My God.
This is such just the idea that he sat here bored out of his mind, having to listen to people babble on and on, just like the people who come on your podcast have to do. Kings are asking me, the King of Sweden invites me to Sweden, the King of France and the King of England, and I'm given honorary degrees at Harvard and Yale and Oxford and Cambridge, and this is when I build this big mansion that stood behind us, and I leave. I go and I travel Europe, and
You didn't bring your wife either way, right?
My wife never leaves Philadelphia. My wife is born right here where we're sitting, just in front of us, and she never leaves. She's in church every Sunday. My wife will not travel. I try to get her to come to England. She just won't come.
She doesn't want to come.
She likes, at this point, we've been married over 35 years, and she likes being Mrs. Benjamin Franklin.
But she doesn't necessarily love you. Like, she's like, go leave.
We're fine.
Yeah,
we have grown children.
Right.
We've started to...
Because you would leave her for years, right?
Yes, I had spent 14 years apart from her.
So you didn't see her once for 14 years?
I did come back. And then during that 1 year in 1763 when I came back, I actually had to travel to all 13 colonies to double check on the post roads that I had laid out. So in that 1 year I traveled 1,800 miles, and she again never left Philadelphia.
Why can't I be with Mrs. Franklin? Dude, my girl gets mad at me if I do a weekend, if I'm gone Wednesday to Saturday. She's freaking yelling at me, being like, get your ass home. You were gone for 14 years. She didn't
The secret is fat chicks. But anyway,
you started out racist, but then you died not racist.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're like my dad. Yes.
Yes.
Hi. Yes. Hi. How are you?
Oh my gosh. Hi.
This is my dad, Benjamin Franklin. This is my life.
Wow.
This is my life.
Whoa.
All the time.
Hilarious.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
let's not go. Let's not. Oh, he's funny.
Oh my gosh.
He's
And the
amusing.
backyard bar
Yes,
was,
yeah,
right?
that piece, that
Don't let it get all. This is what's wrong with the modern age.
Yes.
They respect people who tell silly little. The jester has become.
I know. I have a show called Backyard Bar Wars. He's Benjamin Franklin.
I'm one of the greatest scientific minds of a generation, but you're Chris Distefano. You're so funny.
Well, I want to ask you, the last thing I want to ask you is, what do you think, like now, you've been alive for so long, you see where the country is, do you really think the country's over? Are we in a crisis, or what's going to happen?
Yes, we are in a crisis.
The worst crisis in American history right now?
No.
What was the worst?
Well, just after my passing, they tried to come to some sort of compromise about how to deal with the one issue that we refused to address, and what becomes the greatest crisis of our country, the growing division between our black population and our white population. So obviously the Civil War, when our country was split in half and Americans were fighting Americans, I would think is the worst crisis that our country has ever faced.
People say we're on the brink of a civil war now. Do you believe that?
I'm not sure. I cannot predict the future. However,
I thought you could.
I will say this, though. I cannot predict the future. I do think that innovations and inventions beget more of the same.
Yeah.
So I think we build on the past, and I think it's important to learn the past. I really appreciate you spending time looking towards
Yeah.
your past. That's where you will learn the lessons. But yes, we are at a perilous and dangerous time in America. We must find common ground.
You think maybe we break up? Is that the answer? Like our good friend Colin Quinn said? Do we just say, you know what? It was a bad idea. How can the people who live in New York and Philly have the same rules that someone who lives in Arizona?
How would we do that without it being a complete mess? That's not going to be. That's not going to be
do it right.
done cleanly.
No, I know.
And also, I believe at this point, one or two of your states. Now you've named you have 50 states now. Is that right?
50 states.
And
yeah.
I'm sure at this point you've named at least one of them Franklin. Is that correct?
We have not. There's Franklin,
well,
Tennessee.
Yeah, that's not a state.
Yeah, there's not Franklin.
No,
and really
no
only one of
state
them
would
is
be-
free. At the current moment, only one of our states is free, and that's the great state of Florida.
Florida is a state?
Florida's
well,
a state,
you could
baby.
probably cut that. You could circumcise that one, and
Yeah.
I think everything would be all right. But no, I think like you're imagining America as somehow like Europe.
Right.
But it's hard to imagine that being clean.
So you hope, but you don't know. So you think it's 50-50 if there's another war in here.
I think the idea of being able to find a way, I think it's incremental. You have to take small steps. As I mentioned, it would be nice to see some changes to the Constitution, some new amendments introduced.
Right.
But even that seems very unlikely. I'm not a great fan of war, but I think you should watch Backyard Bar Wars, BBW, Chris's new show. Clunky name.
Yeah,
Good show.
Good show.
Good show. Clunky name. Good
Yes.
show.
Thank you so much for giving me a tour of Philadelphia. I
an
really feel like I
absolute
learned a lot
pleasure.
about you. Thank you for clearing up that you weren't just an old womanizer, because I came into this thinking that
That
you were,
and so much more.
I thought you were the original Harvey Weinstein, but now I know that you're not, and you're a great guy. You're a great American, and I love this country. And we need you more than ever now to remove the Taliban.
Chris, I couldn't be more in favor of you saying whatever you want. Freedom of speech, my young friend.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you
you.
so much. I love Benjamin Franklin. He's my favorite founding father ever. So let's go to Subway and get a sandwich. True TV, yes. You guys would really love the Impractical Jokers. Those are our founding fathers.
Oh, I understand. Yes, I think humor might be the solution.
Yeah, all right. And ChrisTComedy.com, of course, patreon.com/ChrisTComedy. Where can people find you, Benny Franklin?
www.bfranklin.org.
Yeah, I just had to Venmo Ben Franklin.